the governing ANC facing a number of challenges from within its ranks. Today, our second talking point, we are joined by the Secretary General, or should I say the Acting Secretary General of the ANC, Jessie Duarte, and she's going to tell us about what it is that they are doing. DSG, can I quickly start with this question to you? You probably are able to see in the papers today that the decision to move the country to lockdown level 1, yes, it is being lauded in some respects, but many people are convinced that this is a political decision. It has nothing to do with science, particularly on the element of increasing crowds out there, whether it be outside, which is a figure of 2,000, or indoors, 750,000. Are you, when I say you, I'm talking about the leadership of the ANC, are you deliberately putting people in harm's way?
Well, Xoli, first of all, if we needed crowds, we would have asked for more, frankly speaking. We don't need crowds. The element of our campaign is door-to-door work. We out there doing footwork. Very little crowd activity is taking place for the ANC, that is. If we do meet people at the end of a walkabout, it's a small community or it's a community meeting, and there hasn't ever been more than, well, in the past, no more than 250 people or 500 people as it was outside. And so I don't know. I think that it is a bit cynical to think that the country would remain on lockdown level 2 simply to appease any political party. I myself am of the view that it was time to look at lockdown level 1. It could have been done earlier, in my view. It was done at the time that it was done based on the science and the declining numbers. You might recall that the Premier of the Western Cape called for lockdown level 1 a long time ago. And so I think that I still believe the science is what we must all follow.
Yeah.
Obviously, as we're in an election campaign, every cynical concept will come to the fore. But, you know, if crowds were needed, people would have asked for more. Would have campaigned if we had to, but we did no campaigning. The decision to go to 2,000 people externally was done by the government, there was no discussion in the ANC about the numbers at all. Of course, let me be clear and say that we are concerned that numbers of people still need to be vaccinated, and we hope that we can reach that 60 million that we need now, so that we get to herd immunity faster, which means that a lot of the restrictions will, in fact, disappear. Hopefully, COVID-19 will abate.
Yeah.
But also, our analysis and our view is that we're really not taking this for granted. We might get another wave. No one can tell.
But and, you know, on that exact point,
yes.
Ms. Duarte, let me just come in there and say, you're talking about another wave, and that is the feared fourth wave. Now, part of the commentary in these articles that are in newspapers today is that it's as if South Africa did not learn anything from the Indian election, which was held in April this year, the Delta variant, the morgues, which were completely overwhelmed. And people are saying that this is not only going to expedite the fourth wave coming in earlier, but that we're going to see thousands more people lose their lives because we simply are not at the point of herd immunity just yet.
I respect that view, Xoli, but let me please repeat this and tell you that the ANC at no point is calling on thousands and thousands of people to come and out anyway. We're going door to door, which means that we are deliberately doing what we did in the December last year by-elections, and that was to do door-to-door work instead of having big rallies and big meetings. Even our manifesto launch was a rather small event in Church Square in Tshwane. So let me just say that we are hoping that we will not see a fourth wave. We are praying that people will go and get the vaccine as a matter of urgency. But also, Xoli, I think there must be a balance in how matters are seen. The biggest lobby for lockdown level 1 was business. And what is interesting is that the business community is not coming to the fore and saying, yes, we lobbied the liquor industry and so on. So I think that there must be a balance. We do not want to see more people being infected. We're doing everything we can to avoid that. And we'll continue to work in a very, very disciplined manner that does not put the lives of people in danger.
Then let's talk about the ANC's election campaign, DSG. And this is by no means an opportunity for the ANC to campaign on this platform. However, we've got to put the question to you, because this is, as much as ANC staffers are workers of the ANC, they are also South Africans. And all of us as South Africans should worry when we go to work in the morning only to not be paid at the end of the month. How long is this going to go on for?
Xoli, I really don't want to give you a definite answer, because that is making a promise publicly, and that those kinds of promises in the situation we find ourselves in is not a good idea. It's been difficult, and I think that to try to undermine the fact that we are having difficulties is of no use. You might see that the ANC doesn't have posters up yet. We simply have not been able to raise money from our traditional funding base. Our staff are very dedicated people. Most of them, let me say 90% of the staff, are working with us, are on the ground with us, and it is difficult. I want to assure you that it's very hard to find little bits of money to help the people around you for whatever reason. It is a problem. It is a problem we're trying desperately to resolve. The Treasurer General and the Finance Committee are working 24 hours a day to try to find funders who are willing to give us funds under the new Act. People's concern is that they have to declare. And, it became worse after the first declaration was put to the IEC. Even the period before that, we were able to raise a bit of money. But as soon as names appeared in the media, people were then concerned. And so we've started doing some crowdfunding. It's not enough. It's not bringing in any significant amounts of money.
So you're continuing with the crowdfunding. I'm sorry to interrupt you there.
Yes, we are. We're trying.
You're continuing with it. You're continuing with it despite the objections by your alliance partner, COSATU.
We're continuing with it despite the objections by COSATU. Unfortunately, we do not have the same advantage that COSATU has, where it has a number of unions that collect dues from their members every month. And COSATU, I assume, would still be able to raise money from their traditional funding base as a labor movement. We cannot. And so we respect their view, but we're continuing with it. It has helped a little bit. It isn't enough. And it is a legitimate way of raising money from the ANC, mainly the ANC membership, who are able to provide extra, who have some extra income that they, little bit, I mean, people have been giving as little as 10 Rand and as much as 5,000 Rand. So, Xoli, it may not sit well with COSATU, but we are in a position where we have to try to find a way of raising money.
Then let's move, DSG, to another matter of concern, and that is that of violence in meetings of the African National Congress, particularly the list process. You recently addressed the media and stated that you've analyzed this situation and you thought it best that the community's involvement might actually be the solution to people who are fighting tooth and nail to make sure that they are the ones on those lists. And if it means killing a fellow comrade, so be it. The question here, DSG, is, are you not outsourcing the ANC's problems and making them the problems of communities out there? Are you not putting lives of ordinary people at risk by taking what is effectively an internal ANC problem and making it a community-wide problem?
I totally disagree with your view. First of all, we've proved now, without any shadow of a doubt, that the fact that communities are able to select their own representative has made life a lot more easy in terms of the question of accountability. Whether we select 3 people nominated by an ANC branch, or people going to a community meeting and selecting the candidate of their choice, the problem of violence has nothing to do with that, in fact. What it does have to do with, Xoli, is, and let's not make this a national generic problem. So thus far, sadly, we've lost 2 lives and 3 lives in KZN and a life in Tshwane. 1 person in KZN seriously injured. This is occasioned by people who see themselves as needing to select a candidate so that they can determine how the resources of a particular municipality will be defined and run. What we've effectively done is to begin to bring an end to that. I'm on the ground and I am working with people and I am going door to door, and actually what we find is a totally different perception from the people on the ground to your perception. People are appreciative of the fact that the ANC has given them the opportunity to choose their own ANC candidate. We're not asking people to choose random candidates. We're saying, look, the ANC needs a candidate from your ward. Here are ANC members, or possibly a COSATU or an SACP member. We ask you to choose amongst these people a person to represent your interests. And I think that, yes, there are people who don't accept this. Excuse me, Xoli. There are people who don't accept this.
Yeah.
And they will always not accept
this. Let's do this. Let me help you. I think your throat, there is something there. It's actually an opportunity for me to take a break. So let's take a break. We'll continue after this. You're watching Politics Unscripted, the segment of the show, The Talking Point, and we are in conversation with the Acting Secretary General of the African National Congress, Jessie Duarte. DSG, before we went to a break, you seem to believe strongly that this is my perception, that the ANC's violence problem in the lead up to this election, much as it was, by the way, in the lead up to the 2016 local elections, is my perception. I put it to you, it's not, DSG, because it is the Premier who doubles up as chairperson of the ANC in Gauteng, David Makura, who said, not only are our councillors at risk now, it is also the community that's at risk. Then Pegitele, the Minister of Police, adds and says it looks like the problem of KZN, that of political killings, has found its way to Gauteng. So I am not in any way inventing this. This is from your own comrades.
Xoli, I don't want to make this about you or any other personality. This is really about a very deep analysis that we ourselves have made, and we've understood the problem. Our remedy for the problem is to allow communities to select their own candidates. What we are saying to everybody is that what has happened in the past is the intense lobbying to be the councillor does result in people becoming quite difficult and had begun to be violent. Now let's look at the reality. In Gauteng, the total number of incidents has been 7 throughout the province. And this is a province with over, I think it's got over 200 or 300 wards. It's not a small province. KZN has over 480 wards, and they've had this rather unfortunate two incidents that took place. But in other areas where one might have expected similar incidents to happen, it's not happened. So the involvement of the community is not to put the community at risk, but it is to give the community a defining chance to select a candidate that will be accountable to the people.
All right.
And it is really important that I hear what Premier Makura is saying, and I also heard what Begit Kele is saying, but, you know, the number of incidents just don't compare. In 2016, the number of people who had died was 17 in KZN. And one death, in my view, is a death too many. So we have a responsibility to look for remedies.
All right.
We have a responsibility to undermine blatant, not people who come to the ANC because they believe in our values, but people who come to the ANC, begin to work in a branch, begin to push the branch into a particular position, steer it away from service delivery into a business unit for a particular group of people. And I can't really explain it beyond that, except to say that it's not about any individual here, you or Begikele or Makura or anyone else. We needed to find a remedy, and up to now, that remedy is beginning to show very positive results.
All right. Let's conclude our conversation then, Acting Secretary General, with the conversation around how the ANC plans to win back the metros which it lost in 2016. You've deployed your biggest campaign face, if you like, to Nelson Mandela Bay, or Gqeberha nowadays. That's the president. He's there, been there for the better part of the weekend. The major problem here, it would appear, is that the ones that you've lost, you probably are going to have difficulty in gaining them back. I'd like to know what your game plan is around that. But address the other one, which looks to be vulnerable. And not because the opposition is gaining ground, and this is the eThekwini municipality I'm talking about, but because the ANC people in KZN are saying, and I want to quote one Tabani Nyawose here, who is apparently number one on the list. He says, and I quote, "The ANC's biggest problem in eThekwini is the ANC." You are your own worst enemy. You're going to lose that metro.
No, I don't think we'll lose eThekwini. The reality is that we know that there have been problems. We're not undermining them. We're not sweeping them under the carpet. There are very bold mechanisms in place to deal with those problems in eThekwini and in Tshwane, as well as in Nelson Mandela Bay, because in those three areas, what had happened was the intense competition amongst ANC members to be the mayor, to be on the MACO, etc., has created divisions even amongst the branches of the ANC and ergo in the communities itself. For Nelson Mandela Bay, the real critical issue has always been the infrastructure development program and the fact that it has taken, it hasn't gone very far. And, you know, we've tossed Nelson Mandela around between various political parties. The ANC's view right now is that we focus on what must be done with infrastructure, with housing, with the fact that there's a port, there's a number of issues there that just have been laying around not being dealt with.
Right.
There's a question of the bus transportation system. So apart from that, what we've also done is we're looking very, very critically at the type of people who've come into the leadership of the ANC. And I have to tell you very honestly, as uncomfortable as this may sound going forward, there's no space in the ANC for people who came to the ANC simply to become a mayor or a MACO member for their own particular purposes.
Right.
We've done a lot of good, hard research on what needs to be done. Our one concern, Xoli, I will say this to you, is that there's a very deep racial division in Nelson Mandela Bay, which is unfortunate. the northern areas, which is primarily made up of so-called colored people, feel marginalized
Yeah.
by the other comrades in the area. We're working on that.
Okay.
We know that we will be able to deal with that quite soon.
That's the acting Secretary General of the African National Congress, Jessie Duarte. Thank you very much for making time to speak to us here on Politics Unscripted. Well,